Welcome to Quality Perks, the podcast that not only delves into the intricacies of contact center quality management, but also uncovers the personal stories of industry leaders. Brought to you by BPA Quality, your trusted partner in enhancing customer experiences.
And good morning and welcome everybody to another episode of Quality Perks. I'm Karen Dupree. My co-host is Neil Eggers, and we have the most lovely Leslie O with us this morning. We'll be talking about empathy and customer experience. So without further ado, the first thing we do is we talk about what coffee we're drinking or whatever beverage we're drinking at the time. So I'll go first. I thought I was going to get real fancy this morning. I was going to do an espresso, but I went ahead with my coffee. But I made it special, so I put it in my Let It Snow mug because for Christmas, holidays, and everything else coming up, I'm hoping for snow. It is my regular cup of coffee. However, I added cocoa, hot cocoa, a spoonful of that, and I also added one of these. It is the peppermint cookie Lindt. Oh, I can't show you, but it's the Lindt Linder.
See, that's not coffee anymore. That's like a dessert drink. You've crossed.
It is delicious. It's not coffee, maybe, but it is delicious.
You dropped a whole chocolate in there? You dropped a chocolate?
Why not?
Well,
we have to. You're elevating your barista game for Quality Perks.
Well, hey, haters gonna hate, Neil. Haters gonna hate.
Well, here in Florida, where it's 50 degrees, it feels like snow. So I appreciate the mug.
Awesome.
Leslie, tell us, what do you have today?
I'm having a cup of hot black coffee in my favorite mug. I drink Pete's. I love this. It's an addiction. When I wash the pot at night, I say goodbye, good night. I'll see you in the morning. So this is a unfancy but most beloved beverage.
I like how you wash your pot.
Yeah.
You wash your pot. That's good.
I do.
So
yeah.
I've learned that apparently in our pre-production show that I need to wash my coffee pot more than I do. So thank you for bringing that to my attention. I will do that after the show. Not a shameless plug, but I enjoy the Callzilla espresso cup here. So I'm enjoying a double espresso from my Nespresso machine that I apparently need to clean more. So we'll get working on that after the show. But Leslie, tell us a little bit about you, what you do, what you're here to talk about. We've known each other for probably decades now through different associations and professional groups. But for our audience, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I'm Leslie O'Flahaven. My company's called E-Right. I'm coming to you from the Washington, D.C. area today, where it's a little bit warmer than in Florida, but still gloomy. My company's mission is to help people learn to write well at work, and I avidly care about the people who communicate with customers in email, chat, social media, text, in knowledge articles and self-service content, because they are some of the hardest working writers in the workplace. So I'm glad to talk about empathy today. Some companies think empathy is an elegant option. Some think it's too legally risky to even indulge, and others expect their agents to kind of cough out their heart every single time they communicate with customers. So I guess maybe we'll do a Goldilocks today and try to figure out what's the just right amount of empathy.
Right. Well, that was going to be my follow-up question. So 2 questions. One would be, when is empathy appropriate, right? So when what's the difference in verbal as opposed to writing? So, when you have a verbal communication and somebody, makes a statement that requires an empathetic response, it's pretty cut and dry. But from a writing perspective, when you may be sending different responses back and forth, either through email or through chat or social media, talk to us a little bit about your recommendation about when that should happen and how you should do it.
Okay, in customer care, there's two ways we express empathy. One is human, because we are receiving human communications. We are human, and it's a natural and a well-respected and desired skill to express empathy. That's the human way. And the other way is practical. If you're a company and you want customers to believe that you care about them, accept your answers when you give them to them, and to go away and not repeatedly complain about the same thing. Keep being a customer, but not repeatedly complain about the same thing. You need to express empathy. So empathy is necessary for human reasons and for practical reasons.
So when do you recommend that how many times, right? So to your point, if a customer keeps expressing it, how do you express empathetic responses in a way that achieves that goal of the customer, understanding that you, the agent, understand or hearing the issue,
Mm-hmm.
and we can move towards a resolution?
Probably they won't, the customer won't keep coming back over and over and over with the issue if you express empathy as early as possible in the problem. There's a direct relation between delaying empathy and increasing the number of contacts. So when we respond emotionally to customers in writing or in speaking, we can apologize to them or we can empathize with them. Companies are pretty prepared and willing to apologize, especially insincerely. They're very willing to do that. We regret any inconvenience this may have caused, which is just like a bone dry, insincere apology we toss out all the time. If we start with sincere empathy, if that's the first emotional connection we make, the chances are great that we won't have 6, 7, 8 communications on the same topic.
So you may have stepped into a question that I want to ask a little bit later, but how do you avoid a bone dry, canned, empathetic response that all of us, as making another painful contact center attempt, right? We're like, okay, yeah, I know I know how you're really sad, or you're really like, what are some tips and tricks that you recommend so that it's not that bone dry, canned response?
Right. We're not here for I understand how frustrating that would be. We're not here for that, right? So there's a few tips and tricks. One is use the customer's own words back. That will be less bone dry. So the customer says, I was disgusted when I found a hair in my oatmeal, right? Then you can say, I understand why you were disgusted. We don't say, I understand how frustrating that would be. You can say, I understand why you were disgusted. So use the customer's own words back. Now, sometimes customers are being dramatic and tragic, and they say, you're worse than murderers. You can't empathize and say, I understand why you think we're worse than murderers, but
Right.
you would understand the extent of their emotion and try to find a slightly safer way to empathize. So use their own words back with them. Then the other thing you can do is empathize with their tactics if you can't empathize with their feelings. So you can say, I understand why you contacted us again, or I understand why you're concerned that the shipping address might be wrong, given that the name is wrong. So you can empathize with what they've done so far. I can see you phoned us and you emailed us. I can tell this really matters to you. I understand why this really matters to you. So there are 2 tips.
Yeah, so being specific to the customer's call history and the amount of times, the customer may not even mention this is my second or third attempt, but the agents, has the tools at their disposal to be able to see that happened. So you'll put a customer at ease if they didn't even have to say that, but
Right.
you offered that you have that information at your fingertips as a part of an empathy statement.
Indeed. And if they have said so, or as we all know, we're like, Fred, you you tweeted us, you chatted us, you emailed us, and now you're calling us. Fred, we can tell this matters a lot to you, but make it an empathetic response to the fact that Fred's contacted us in 4 channels.
Right. Yeah. And a point you made earlier about the reduced future calls, that first call resolution metrics can be better by providing that empathy statement and letting the customer know that this is the one-stop shopping, that this is how it's going to happen. I'm going to be the one that's going to fix your issue.
Indeed.
So, organizations and brands that are operating contact centers would do well to focus on this as a particular issue, because it's reducing cost of effort. And then to your other point about blasting all over every channel about how they're not satisfied, you don't need that either.
No thanks.
It was interesting. So that bone dry canned response talk.
Uh-oh. We've lost Neil.
Oh, Neil will be back. Hey, Karen, look who's joining us. We have Ghislaine Cadaret. I know Ghislaine. Hey, Ghislaine. And Neil, hi. And Lauren, thank you for joining.
It's a little bit about how. Are we back?
Hey,
Was
Neil,
it me?
we lost you for a little bit.
It was you.
It was you.
Unacceptable in a live broadcast. What was the last thing you heard me say? Can you still hear me, or did you actually hear the question?
No, we didn't hear the question, but I have to congratulate you because your on-screen freeze face was very pleasant. You weren't like,
yes.
Yeah. No, not like that.
Good. So don't do that again.
Me.
Got it.
Don't do that anymore.
So the question was, how is your world and generative AI met? So that bone dry response, that's I would imagine that we're at that spot, right, where companies are using generative AI, and we know that they are, and it's here, and it's been here for a while. How does your world and generative AI intersect to fix that bone dry or lack of detailed response?
Well, I'm laughing because I'm deeply frightened that generative AI is going to erase me from the universe, of course, because my life's work is helping people write better. And I think we know what generative AI can do in that regard. And people who can't write well at all and never will write well at all, this is a tool that can help them a great deal. So I'm really, really worried. But I'm going to answer your question along a continuum here. The first, before generative AI is like the last answer to your question, namely, can we use software to help us empathize sincerely? Can we use software that's pretending or that's not human to help us express this most human kind of connection? Can we? That's the last question. The first question is, do customer care managers, do leaders allow their frontline agents to express empathy? And I'm coming to you as a person who has worked in many, many companies, and about half of them prevent agents from expressing sincere empathy for a few reasons. The most common one is fear of legal risk. Or the second one would be fear of inelegant or inexact or overly human expressions of empathy, like I gotcha or something like that. Companies, right. Leaders are worried about that. So we have to start there, because until leaders say to agents, not only is it okay if you do it sometimes, I want you to do it all the time. I want you to express sincere empathy all the time. Let's not worry about what generative AI can do. We're not letting people do this. And the banishment of expressions of empathy is absolutely stupid and common, where agents are forbidden from expressing empathy. They're told, you can apologize, but never say you understand, because that means that we agree, which of course is wrong. I can understand why you contacted us 4 times does not mean we agree with your complaint. Or right. If I'm a parent too, and I would be concerned about this also, does not mean we agree that the toy is unsafe. That does not mean that. So first, that's the first part. Managers and leaders encourage agents to express empathy. The second part is, and this is, so aughts or so 1990s, do we have scripts that express empathy? Do we have templates? And I believe we should have empathy templates. There are lots and lots of people who will say that's inconsistent with sincerity. You can't pre-write a Valentine. You can't pre-write a condolence card. You have to write that yourself. Those are empathetic expressions. But I don't agree. Customer service work is really hard, and it's corrosive to the capacity to feel empathy and to express it. It damages the agent's capacity for empathy. So we can, if we allow them to express empathy, we should provide them with some ideas of how to start. And in my work, I've got 20 copy and paste empathy statements you can use today, 40 empathy statements for when you don't really agree with the customer, 6 empathy statements to use in social media. Give them something to start with. They don't have to invent this out of whole cloth. Now, can generative AI express empathy? If frontline agents can use the 20 empathy statements I wrote, they can use the ones generative AI wrote. You see what I'm saying? If we're allowing them to use a resource that they don't create every time they answer a Facebook post, then they can use the generative AI statements that ChatGPT creates. But the frontline agent, the human, needs to be able to edit it so it sounds and is sincere and accurate. So with all generative AI use, the generative part of creating writing is taken care of by the software. But the editing, evaluation, and quality check
the human
is done by the human.
Element.
Right.
Yep.
So we're not done. We just didn't have to make it ourselves. Okay.
Right. But that's
I'm getting sweaty. I'm getting sweaty. Right. I care too much.
Well, the important part for me, at least, is that human element, is that side, because the technology, you're right, can make sure it's grammatically correct and the proper sentence structure is in there. But if it's out of touch and not specific and overtly generative, customers can see right through that. So where your work of teaching people how to recognize that and to be able to deliver those statements appropriately and in a way that's not corrosive to them as humans. And I love that statement that you made, because it's so true. It is contact center work is really hard, and it's only getting harder,
right?
With expectations. So those two things intersecting are super important,
especially with all those Karens out there. So
I don't go there because I would say 37% of my friends are named Karen. It's a demographic thing. I'm of the Karen era, and I don't shop at Chico's, but I'm who they're marketing to.
Right, exactly.
And I guess I lost internet again.
No, you're still here.
I'm still here. Good.
Must be Florida.
The last question I had was how this intersects in quality programs and your experience with that. So how do you go about measuring empathy from a quality perspective? Because most forms that we work with did the agent express empathy? And that's such a wide question.
Yes.
So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I kind of need to reach for a Kleenex because it makes me sad. Did the agent express empathy? I always think about what do we really want to measure? And that is not, did the agent express empathy? That is not a default. It's if the conversation could have been improved by expressing empathy, did the agent express empathy? Right? So most customer service conversations require some kind of empathy, but not all of them.
Yeah.
You say you get a complaint, my package was supposed to be delivered on December 6th, it arrived on December 7th. Apologize, get the package there, refund the shipping, and leave. You're done. You don't need to be like, I understand why on-time delivery matters to you. It just sounds dumb. So
and it's inherently already known, right?
Right. So I understand why salmonella might be a concern for you. It's just, just not really good. So
Yeah.
so first we want anyone who writes a quality form and anyone who uses it to be able to distinguish between sympathy and empathy, and to trust the agents enough to let them decide which is called for. If both are needed, did it happen? If only one is needed, did that happen? You know, I just I like the idea that empathy is showing up on the quality form, because then it shows that the organization values empathy. But I feel very
For sure.
protective of agents because they're often persecuted in the scoring of empathy, not lifted up. I mean, I have a client who shall remain nameless, and their quality scoring form forbids agents from using the word but. That's right.
I'm sorry, but.
No but. You can't use the word but. Exactly.
So
That's
we're focusing on
DUM,
something.
dumb,
Right.
right? This is the idea that if you're telling the customer, we wish we could waive this late fee, but we can't, it's the word but that's going to cause the problem. So when you demonize a particular word and rob agents of natural vocabulary decision making and then score them on that, then can you also be trusted to score whether they've expressed empathy properly? No, you can't.
Yeah. So yeah, don't rely on the scoring form to fix an institutional vision issue.
That's right.
You gotta,
What he
you gotta
said.
fix, you gotta fix that first, and then
Hmm.
move on to the quality form. A good quality form will measure what the organization's already doing well, not
Indeed.
not used to pick out kind of odd things like that.
Hmm.
Indeed.
There's a comment that was made by Lauren. Should we allow the empathy question to be marked NA?
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, all questions shouldn't all questions. I guess maybe with the exception of most questions should be allowed to be marked NA for particular interactions. I mean, we're never waiving the correct spelling and punctuation question, but that one's never NA, I guess, or spelling your own name correctly is probably important in
Right.
every interaction. But yeah.
Yeah, maybe proper branding. Closing sometimes gets NA'd because the recording cuts off, but that's in the quality world, right? That's the issues we always deal with. But
Yeah.
awesome. Well, Leslie, thank you so much for your time today. I apologize for my
Yep.
internet outage there, but thank you so much for your insight and your expertise. I always enjoy getting to see you and hear about what you're up to and attend your workshops at the events that we go to. They're always engaging, and I really appreciate the conversation and the insights today.
Thank you so much, both of you,
Same
for
here.
inviting me. I feel like we could talk for a long, long time. I hope it won't be too long till we meet again.
Absolutely. Have a great
Absolutely.
end of the year. Happy holidays.
Same to
And
you.
we'll see you soon.
All right.
Sounds
Sounds
good.
great.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.